All right, so the as I stated before, the MNPS Parent Advisory Council, our purpose is to increase communication, ensure effective involvement of all parents and caregivers in Metro Nashville Public Schools, and support partnerships between school community stakeholders. Our mission is to engage in transparent and reciprocal communication with MNPS families and caregivers, staff, and stakeholders. And our vision is that every parent, caregiver, family in the community is known. So let's see. So another thing to consider for today is this chat box is open for your use. Someone is monitoring the chat throughout the meeting, so you can post questions on there. If we're not able to answer all of the questions tonight, you can email the questions to us. We're going to try to get a transcript together and post answers to all the questions on our website. And with that, we go to Bethina. So next slide, please.
So let us all get started. In the chat box, thank you so much for those who have come in and named what school you have come from. So just to get a feel of how everyone is doing so far this year, in the chat, if you could describe in 1 to 2 words, how is your school year going so far? If you could take a moment to put that in the chat, we would love to hear how your school year is going so far in 1 to 2 words. We got hectic, COVID petrified, hectic, spectacular, excellent, worried, anxious, pretty great, comforting and optimistic, going well so far, busy, stressful, confusing, anxious, smoother than first expected. So it looks like we really have a wide perspective where we're doing, you know, many of us are doing amazing, and some of us are still having some apprehensions or some concerns. And that's to be expected as we're going into the school year. But I'm so happy to see a lot of great comments that we have coming out of coming in the text box. So if you have a moment, make sure you're connecting with the text box. We have good, but also worried about COVID precautions. We got awesome, fast paced. So those are all to be expected in what we see at the beginning of the school year. Personally, it's been a little hectic for me, but it's also been awesome. My son has really transitioned well into school this year. So I'm really excited about the transition and the time and the space that we have going into the school year. So we're really excited about this. And so we're going to go ahead and begin by talking about by the next slide. And we're going to have Dawn Johnson, my co-secretary, go over the meeting agenda with you as we begin our meeting.
Great, thank you. It's so great to see so many people on the call tonight. And as parents, we know that your time is so valuable. And so we packed a lot into the next hour. You can see the breakdown of time we have together with our keynote speaker, Dr. Paul Changas, taking up the majority of 30 minutes for you as parents to learn about the parent portal. You'll also see that we want to be very respectful of your time. We will end exactly at 6:15, but if you have additional questions that you want answered by the PAC, please remain on. The 4 of us will remain on the call afterwards, and we're happy to answer those questions. And we'd also like to know any topics that you may have that you'd like to see addressed by the PAC throughout the year. So we hope you enjoy the evening, and we look forward to continuing the conversation throughout the night. Next slide.
So next, we'd like to welcome Dr. Adrienne Battle, the MNPS Director of Schools. For those who don't know about Dr. Battle, let me take a moment to tell you a little bit about her and her background before she became the director of schools. Dr. Battle is a Nashville native who has spent almost her entire career within MNPS. She is a graduate of the district's John Overton High School. Where's our John Overton people? She is where she was a three-sport athlete before continuing her education at Missouri State University and Tennessee State University, where she earned her master's degree and doctorate in education administration and supervision. She has previously served in MNPS as a math, reading, and language arts teacher, an assistant principal, a turnaround coach, an assistant principal, an academic principal, an executive principal, a turnaround coach for principals across the district in our priority schools, and as a community superintendent overseeing all schools in the Southeast Quadrant, as well as high schools across our district. So Dr. Battle comes with us to us with a lot of experience, not only as an educator, but as a school leader and district leader, and as well as a lifelong experience right here in MNPS. So without further ado, we'd love to welcome Dr. Adrienne Battle. Please, you have the floor.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Nabaa McKinney, for that introduction. It is so good to be with all of you, even on this rainy day, but fortunately, we're able to still connect virtually. First, let's all take a moment to pause and turn our thoughts to School Board Member Emily Masters. She can't be with us tonight because her mother-in-law passed away in East Tennessee. I know she's been a strong liaison between the board and the PAC, and we look forward to seeing her back with us soon. We send our condolences to Ms. Masters tonight as she reunites with her family during this difficult time. Also want to acknowledge Councilmember Tanya Hancock, an important member of the Metro Council Education Committee, which we appreciate very much for helping to pass this year's MNPS budget, which made our teachers the best paid in the state. Thanks to the biggest investment in our schools in Metro history. So thank you, Councilmember Hancock, for your continued commitment and support of public education. Also wanted to say thank you to the leadership of the PAC, especially Chairwoman Bibi Hines, Vice Chairman Kevin Walker, John Johnson, and Berthena Nabaa McKinney, who are splitting the duties of secretary. I've enjoyed working with Berthena when she was on the school board. It's good to see you again on this call tonight. And thank you again for the kind introduction. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with you tonight, and thank you all for your engagement in your children's education and in our schools. I will tell you from early on in my career, immediately, what I was able to notice and acknowledge is that it takes strong partnership in order to fully educate our students and to provide them with all that they need to meet their talents and their aspirations. What you are doing is so important to our success as we talk about and meet the needs of our individual students, our individual schools, as a district, and as a community. And I've always appreciated how the PAC has helped to organize and inform parents across the district. We've had so many great conversations and collaborations with one another, oftentimes resulting in our team coming together to make sure we're being as responsive as possible to keep our parents informed and as partners in the work of educating our students. I want to talk to you briefly about two big things that are going on in MNPS right now. First, I hope you've heard about one of our key signature initiatives this year, which is Accelerating Scholars. This is our new high-impact virtual tutoring program to help students with learning recovery and getting back on a path to success after the challenges of the 2020-21 school year. High-impact personalized tutoring is proven to be the single most important intervention to mitigate COVID-related learning progress. And I'm so proud of the work of the team because we're able to hit the ground running this school year based upon what we were anticipating in our learning progress from last year into this school year, and even after a successful Promising Scholars summer program. So through a partnership with Pencil, with BrightPath, tutors, and others, we're hoping to reach up to 7,000 plus students with free tutoring this school year. But to do that, we need 2,000 volunteers. Each volunteer will work one-on-one virtually with an elementary school student on literacy or with an 8th or 9th grade student on math. There will be 3 tutoring sessions a week for 30 minutes each during the fall semester. And volunteers can meet with students during the school day or during structured after-school programming. Again, it's all virtual. You won't need to leave your home or your office to do this. You won't have to worry about anyone's vaccination status, and you can do this on the schedule that's best for you. So I hope some of you can volunteer to be tutors, or please spread the word about this opportunity in your networks. You don't have to be a literacy or math expert. You just need to be willing to spend some time with a child every week, time that could change that child's life. So again, this is one of our key signature initiatives this school year. Accelerating Scholars. It is our high dosage, high impact tutoring program that we're planning to reach up to 7,000 students. I appreciate your consideration of this possibility among all the other demands on your time. And I get it. I know that we're all still navigating and balancing so many demands on our personal and professional time right now. But if you can, and if you're interested and willing to spread the word, someone from my team is going to drop a link, and it may already be there, about Accelerating Scholars and a volunteer sign-up form in the chat. So I'm going to put that in the chat in just a moment, so you don't have to try to copy something down or follow what I'm saying too closely, but it's now in the chat. So if you can, please leverage that link, share that link with others to volunteer to ensure that our Accelerating Scholars program is a success. We're committed to it being a success. Also, I want to share our plans for using the district's ESSER 3.0 funds from the federal government. We submitted our plan to the state last week for the $276 million that has been allocated to MNPS, of which $43 million will automatically go to charter schools. We're putting most of the ESSER money into 4 big district-wide buckets. Those 4 buckets are building infrastructure, accelerating academics, ensuring that every student is known, and growing our people. Nearly half of our funding is going towards accelerating learning progress for our students, so directly to our students and the supports for them. We also have chosen to spiral $48.8 million directly to schools over the next 2 fiscal years so that they can meet the unique needs of their student populations. In fact, to date, we're not aware of any other districts that have chosen to allocate a significant portion directly to schools. And we are proud of our school principals who have taken on this opportunity and responsibility to give their students and staff what they need to succeed. Again, this is something that to our knowledge hasn't been done across the country because our brains are being picked nearly every day about how we're ensuring here in Metro Nashville to get as many of our ESSER dollars as close to our students as possible to meet their unique needs. So again, work we're very proud of. It's actually feedback that we consistently feedback through our stakeholder engagement process for our ESSER funds to continue to spiral funds directly to schools as often and frequently as we can. Some examples of school level investments that principals have already made with the previous round of ESSER funds, because you might be asking with the $24 million previously and now $48.8 million being spiraled directly to schools, what are they leveraging those funds for? Some of the highest level strategies that are being implemented are around instructional materials, making sure we're providing all the instructional materials for our students, investments in classroom educational technology, reading and math interventionists, tutoring, extended learning opportunities, expanded professional development for staff, and so much more. We provided strong guidelines and guardrails for our schools around high leverage strategies that they should be investing in to meet the individual needs of their students. Before I close, let me just talk a bit about COVID and how we're dealing with it. I heard some of that in the chat. I saw some of that in the chat as we were opening up this evening. We are still requiring masks for all students because universal masking remains the best available mitigation strategy outside of vaccinations, which are not yet available for the majority of our student population. We are also using other COVID mitigation strategies, social distancing when feasible, cleaning and disinfecting, contact tracing and quarantine, and encouraging vaccination for everyone who's eligible for it. So we remain committed to our mitigation strategies inside of our schools. We're hopeful that the vaccine will be approved for students younger than 12 soon, but we do not have a firm date yet from public health authorities on when that might happen. Our numbers of confirmed cases, quarantines, and isolations have been higher than we saw last year when students were in person, though we have a lot more students in our building than we did last year, right? Because we opened up our doors this year in-person learning for all of our students. We will continue to monitor and share weekly reports for communication and transparency. All right, so that's where we remain with our COVID strategies. Again, I think I was in the same boat with everyone coming into the school year, hoping that we were putting COVID in the rear and behind us. But we continue to see surges here, but we're also seeing that across the state and across the country. And so we'll continue to mitigate and do the best we can in protecting the safety and the health of our students, our staff, and our families. Last but not least, I hope you notice our year-long Celebration of Schools initiative. We are celebrating a new school every day on our website at mmps.org/celebration. And we hope you'll share the stories on social media and wear your favorite school colors that day or any day throughout the school year. I have thoroughly enjoyed celebrating all of our students and giving every school a full day of celebration, recognizing the talents of our students, the commitment of our parents, the excellence of our teachers, and the amazing leadership of our leaders and support staff in all of our schools. Even with the challenges we continue to face with the pandemic, I'm glad we're back in school in person this year. I've been to almost 24 schools already over the last 3 weeks, and I've been really pleased, and I know you would be too, to see the commitment everyone is showing to our mission of ensuring that every student is known and on a path to success. So I want to again thank the PAC for an opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you again for your commitment to your children's education, to Metro Nashville Public Schools, and to this wonderful Parent Advisory Council. So with that, PAC leadership, I'll turn it back over to you. And again, thank you for your leadership and an opportunity to be with you this evening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Battle, for your insight, the information you have given us, and your plans moving forward, as well as the excitement and the celebration that we hear throughout this school year. We're really excited about the partnership that we have with MNPS and how we plan to take that partnership to the next level this school year. I do want to bring up, Dr. Battle, that Talia Johnson said she taught you, Miss Talia Johnson said she taught you math. I don't know what grade that was in, but I do want to acknowledge that she wrote it in the chat. So we're really excited that she can also be on the line and see the commitment that she has made in investing in you and where you are today. And that says a lot about our educators as well as our parents and our community leaders on how all of what it takes for all of us to make investments in our students and within our families to push them to the next level. So we're really excited, and thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for your partnership. We're really excited about this. We're going to bring up Ms. BB Hines to do an introduction or to continue on the next slide, please.
Hey, Kevin. Kevin Walker, do you want to tell us about our PAC
Sure.
support teams and liaisons? I know you've been working a lot with them.
Well, sure, I'll be glad to. And first, let's just celebrate the fact we have almost 200 people on this virtual meeting, all concerned about parents' involvement in our local public schools and making them as great as they could be. So that's to be celebrated. Yeah, someone had in the chat had said, how do we get involved in or give feedback or opinions about COVID protocols and stuff? And I want to tell you, this team right here and this group is probably the best way to be involved and give feedback to MNPS about all things. Because you'll see on this list right here, these are 4 folks that we are partnering with to help elevate the role and the voices of parents in our public schools. We got Mariana Merritt here. Wave, Mariana. She is our main liaison with MNPS. You know, the Teams meeting we're doing right now, getting stuff out on MNPS social media, stuff like that. Whenever we were going to do this in person before the COVID numbers started spiking, she helped us secure a location. So we thank her for that. Allison MacArthur, who is the MNPS Director of Community Achieve, one of our partners. Emily Masters, again, who cannot be here, but let's just say how incredible it is that there is a school board member that is that dedicates part of her work specifically to engaging with and partnering with parents like this. Well, you'll be hearing about one really cool outcome with that in the upcoming events section later to come. And finally, and Dr. Battle welcomed her, Tanya Hancock, who we are connecting with and engaging with through the Metro City Council. We've, BB Hines and some others have already had a chance to attend some committee meetings, and we look forward to doing more of those in the future. So we have some tremendous commitment and support from Metro as well as the City Council. So glad to have them a part of this, and thank you for all your support.
Thank you, Kevin. Mariana, I think you know the next presenter very well. If we could go to the next slide. But Mariana, do you mind introducing Mr. Hughes?
Not at all. A man who needs little introduction, Mr. Ashford Hughes. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to join us on this call. He is our Executive Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and an excellent leader helping us navigate ways that we can improve ourselves, improve our district, and provide excellent opportunities for our students. Mr. Hughes?
Hey, thank you, Mariana. Thanks everybody for being here on this, again, rainy evening. I'm representing the McGavitt cluster. I have a son at Stanford Montessori, another one on the way at Stanford. So glad to be here with you today. Just wanted to thank you all for going on this journey with us. And it will be a journey stemming from my role, really working on how are we in Metro Public Schools partnering with families, partnering with our community to create the conditions by which every child has what they need to develop and to grow academically. We are on this journey together because we know, as Dr. Battle speaks about every child known, that really means from the teacher to the curriculum to our community, we must work together. And I'm here to really champion your thoughts and ideas, to champion this work, but I know that I can't do it alone. And I know that when we talk about the intersectionality of the city and of our communities, we all have to view this work as our work together. We all have to be champions for children. My work is really creating those conditions that we all can be champions for children. I know what I want for my child's education and what my non-negotiables are. And I want to make certain that same sentiment is felt throughout the district so that every child has what they need to be successful. Our equity work begins and ends with co-collaborating processes to make certain we're meeting the needs of students. And students right now, your children are telling us what they need to be successful. So I hope over the next couple of months, as we work with the PAC, to have town halls, to have other avenues that we engage each other, that we can really look at the data that Dr. Changas is going to talk about tonight, and that we can really set the tone for what a framework and what the conditions are so that we can be that school district that is tops not only in our state, but across the country. And I know that we can do it together because I know parents, and I know what a parent feels, and I know what you all are thinking about when you say, I want my child to be successful. So I look forward to working with you. I look forward to building our equity roadmap together. I look forward to going on this equity journey as we make certain that we deal with the inequities that our students are facing, because my mantra is that we work on fixing injustice, not fixing kids. Ms. Hines, I thank you for having me again, and I look forward to participating with the PAC in weeks and months to come. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.
Mr. Hughes, before you go, I think you probably know Mr. Chang is the best. So do you mind introducing him to the rest of us? You guys change the slide. Next slide, please. Thank you.
I don't think many of you need too long-winded of a introduction of Dr. Paul Changus. Dr. Paul Changus is a stalwart within the district and has been working for many years, making certain that the data is aligned with the steps that we take to make certain our students have and our educators are prepared and ready to make those decisions so that every child has a personalized learning experience. Dr. Changus is kind of from my neck of the woods in East Tennessee as well. And it has been an absolute pleasure to learn from him and work from him. And this dashboard that he's going to talk about tonight is really transformative for our district and transformative across the South, and really making certain that we specialize and prioritize every child known and that learning that every student needs. So now we'll turn it over to Dr. Paul Changus.
Thank you, Ashford, for that introduction. I'm happy to be here this evening. I appreciate all of the interest from our parents. We know it makes a difference when our parents are involved. As Ashford said, I am from East Tennessee, but this is my 24th year in Metro Nashville Public Schools. While I grew up in Knoxville and went to public schools there, my father is a graduate of East High School here in Nashville. He came. His parents were immigrants from Greece. He started school at Warner Elementary, the first school he ever attended. So it's been like coming home for me to come to Nashville. And tonight I'm going to talk about one of our new initiatives, the Personalized Student Dashboard. It is live, and I'll have some information of some things that just happened today as we start getting feedback from families. But if you'll go to the next slide. Okay, and you can go to the next one from there. So this is one of Dr. Battle's signature initiatives, one of our district's primary focus areas, the Personalized Student Dashboard. But it also aligns with one of our key core tenets, which is to create and support engaging, rigorous, and personalized learning for all of our students. But it also is important to help us identify and eliminate inequities as we make actionable, timely data available to all of our families. So we don't have to wait on printed reports to come home and so forth, so that we can start looking at that data sooner and start doing planning around that. The dashboard is also tied to what we call our focused outcomes, the key measures that we are measuring at the district level, our literacy and numeracy data, which you'll see math and English language arts scores from MAP assessments, 10 Ready assessments, and so forth. We also have behavior and attendance data to assess social emotional learning, but also the information that is available in the dashboard is important to the transitions that we make from elementary to middle school, middle to high, or beyond high school. It's going to help us with the planning that we do in terms of making sure that our students are prepared for the next step. And I'll just add that the research literature is very clear that timely and effective feedback is one of the most powerful influences on student achievement. And that impact is enhanced when we have families and students involved, not only in reviewing the data, but setting goals going forward. And the data we're making available now will help empower our students and our families and to ensure that every student is known. So we'll go to the next slide. And I'll say that the dashboard is occurring in phases. Last spring, we rolled out phase 1, which was to get timely on-demand data to families in a pretty short time frame. And that data, again, is aligned to the things that our schools are measuring in terms of their progress. But we also pushed out in that phase 1 interpretive information to help families be able to read and interpret the test scores that were made available. In that initial phase, we had a pretty small team that was involved in the development of the dashboard. But now as we move into the next phase, we're asking our families and our stakeholders for input to help us review what's currently there and tell us what's necessary to enhance the process. And that'll include, hopefully, enhanced visualizations of the data, but also providing links to resources. For instance, if my child is in high school and preparing for the ACT, what resources do I have to help support my child in that role?
You're muted.
Dr. Changus, I believe you'll need to unmute.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now okay?
Yes, sir.
So we have been rolling out, phase 1 was about getting the data out to our families in timely fashion, and phase 2 is all about getting feedback from families as we move forward to look at the visualization of our data in new ways, to also provide links to resources to help us interpret the data. So if we go on to the next slide. So how do we access the dashboard? It is live now. We just pushed in our TCAP data for the first time. And what you'll see when you go to the MNPS homepage in the upper right corner, we have the campus portal. When you select that portal, if you'll hit the next button, it'll take us to the next screen. You'll click on Campus Portal. It'll give you a choice of campus student or campus parent, and we will select campus parent. And then if you'll hit that button, it takes you to our dashboard, to what we call our Infinite Campus Family Portal. And our dashboard lives within that portal. So families who have already been involved in accessing our student information system, the campus student or campus parent will be familiar with this page. But you'll need a login, you'll need an account in order to access this page. And if you don't have one, you'll select New User in the bottom left corner there. But you'll need to contact the school to get an activation code, which will then be input when you select New User. You would then enter your activation code and you'll get your username and password. So once you have that username and password, you'll hit the blue button, Log In. So if you'll hit the next button, and that'll take you into our message center of the dashboard. And you'll see on the left options that are available to you on the first page. You can look at student assignments, at student course grades, attendance, or what we call an academic plan. And so let's start with the assignments. We'll go to the next screen. And I'm not going to go into great detail on each of these, but I just wanted to give you a little overview. So with student assignments are displayed in this section with a focus on the current day. You can select an assignment to see when it was assigned, when it's due, if there's a score, if it was graded, there'll be a score, and potential teacher comments. Next, we'll go to course grades. And here you'll see at the upper left corner, you can select a particular quarter, or you can look at grades for the entire year for all terms. And this will include grades that are in process as they're being calculated. But you'll have a list of subjects. This is a 4th grade English language arts example. And you have on the right a letter grade and then the numeric grade on the 0 to 100 scale that's shown on the right. And then the various standards, academic standards that go into that grade are listed below. But this is where grade information is found. We also have attendance data, which you'll see an example on the next slide. And under attendance, the number of student absences and tardies for any particular attendance period or within a selected 9 weeks are displayed. You can drill down to see if the absences or tardies are excused or unexcused, and they're shown across all courses or any particular courses that where attendance is taken. Next, we'll go to our next slide. This is an academic plan. This is available currently at the high school level. We are going to be expanding this to other grades, but this was developed and rolled out in the past year. It displays the student's academic plan and the courses that the student is planned to take each year. This is something that that the family would work with the school, particularly a counselor, to get this information in there. You can monitor progress toward the plan, including the credits earned each year, and monitor that over time. But as I said, this will be expanded hopefully in the near future at other grades. And there will be interpretive information when you get into the dashboard to look at more data. So here we saw this first screen before, but there's a More button at the bottom left. And when you select that button, it'll take you to another screen where we can look for behavior and assessment data. So let's start with behavior. So if you selected the behavior link, it'll take you to a page that's very straightforward. It shows you for any incident that occurred that resulted in a behavior, a discipline event, it'll list the date and time of that behavior and what the event was. Here's an example of a student that was cutting class on a given day in March. But hopefully, you know, if you don't see anything on that page, that's a good thing. It means there were no behavior incidents. And next we'll go to one of the more complex pages, our assessment page. And this was one of the things that was added this past year. We've never had on-demand access to test scores for families before. Previously, everything's been on paper. But if you, and I know this page is fairly complex, what we're going to see on this dashboard, any kind of national testing that might have occurred, such as an ACT exam, state tests. In this case, we have 10 ready results from the spring. This is a de-identified student, but we actually have real data that's loaded in there. You have a scale score that the state assigns for each of the subject areas, each row representing a subject. You have the achievement level that the child achieved from below approaching on track to mastered and the date of the test. And then their district assessment, such as the MAP assessment in this case, the measures of academic progress, which is a nationally normed test that we give 3 times a year in grades normally in 2 through 9. Last year, we also administered this test at KN1. but it provides a scale score, but more importantly, it tells you the percentile rank, what percentage of students nationally your child scored higher than. That's the information that's shown under result. There's also growth data that shows from the beginning of the school year till now, what kind of progress your child made relative to the nation. Was it low, average, or high compared to other students at that grade level and for that subject? And we have data going back to as far as February of 2020 currently in there now, but we'll continue to add data as we go. And we are just completing an administration of the map this fall, and we anticipate within the coming week that we'll have new data for your students. Now, that's a lot of information to digest. So if you hit the button up in the upper left corner that says click here, it will provide additional information. So if we hit the next button, we'll see that we get some interpretive information. If we can go to the next button, please. And you'll see that you'll get a box that shows the report example. And I know this is too small to read, but it has descriptive information explaining what the scores are. This is just a sample of a larger page that's available to us that not only describes the scores, but gives an example in terms of what kind of information is available there and how it might be used. And we will be providing more information as we go in terms of the use of this. But we feel this type of data is going to be helpful for conversations between a parent and a teacher as those occur over the course of the year. And we work together to identify goals and to monitor progress of our students. But there are boxes outlined in red that highlight specific scores. And then again, narrative information that give context to that assessment, how it's used and how often it's given and so forth. And there's a different page at the top. You'll see we've highlighted in orange here, golden color, the measures of academic progress, the MAP assessment, but there's a page for 10 Ready, a page for ACT and the high school civics graduation exam. End of course assessments. For English learners, we have the WIDA English proficiency exam. So there's a different page explaining each of the assessments that's in there. And with that, we'll go to the next page, which is kind of summarizes the various assessments that are there. Various types of student data. We saw assessment behavior, course grade, academic plan information. But under assessments, in addition to the MAP and the 10 Ready, we do have high school end of course exam scores from this past spring. If your student has taken any ACT score in the past, that will be there. That's typically administered in the upper grades in high school. The civics exam is an exam students have to pass to get a regular high school diploma. And then we have any English proficiency exam, WIDA access score, that a child may have taken in the past. And they have to reach a certain score in terms of English proficiency to exit the English language learner program. So with that, I'll just take a minute and talk about some of the next steps as we go forward. We are just opened today a survey for families that we will have available this month for you to provide feedback on the survey. I'm sorry, on the dashboard through this survey. There's a link from our main page. If you go to our celebrations page, and at the top of the screen, there's a home button that will take you to that. There was a blog post added today that goes to the survey, but tomorrow families are scheduled to receive via email information about the student dashboard and how to access the survey. There'll also be information coming out next week with the student progress reports that talks about how to access this information. It'll also be on social media from the district through Facebook and Twitter. You know, we're excited to now that we have the data there. Now the next step is to get some nice visualizations that we're going to ask you to respond to what's currently there through this survey, but then also to tell us what you would like to see added to it, what enhancements, and to give us that feedback. We'll also, if you hit the button, you'll go to the next step here. We're going to, surveys are nice, but there's value from having focus groups, having conversations with some of our families, and that's where I'll ask the council to help us over the next month or two to convene some families that are interested in talking about what's currently there and what they'd like to see. And based on the feedback we receive, we're going to provide some visualizations, some example reports, and then and have some additional conversations with family members to respond to the visualizations and help us narrow the focus for the next round of development. We again, we'll develop report examples based on what we hear. And finally, we will share those report examples and gather that feedback. The goal is to have phase 2 rolled out by the latter part of this school year. We'll be working on it over the course of the year, again using the information we receive. But all through the year, we're going to continue to provide enhancements with regard to new data that we push into the dashboard, and also new interpretive information. There are links from the dashboard that help you understand the data that you're looking at. And with that, I'll be happy to take questions.
Mariana, do you mind?
Dr. Changus, we have several questions that have come in through the chat during your presentation, and thank you very much. As a parent of a 5th grader, this was very helpful to me as well. So again, can you remind us how to get to this dashboard?
Yes, you can go to the MNPS homepage, and at the very top right of the homepage is a link that says Campus Portal, and you'll click on that link, and then it'll ask you if you're going to the student or the parent site. And I know a lot of our families access through the student site, but we encourage you to contact your school to get the activation code. The school will have to verify that you are the family member who has access to the data. They will give you an activation code that's entered from that site. But the information that's going out via email will also, there's a page that's been added to the district website, which also has a link to the portal and information on how to access the site. And that was just activated today, that page. If you go to the mnps.org website, at the top of the page, there's a link to home. And when you select home, it takes you to a blog site that has a new blog entry today, your students' data all in one place, and that has the information, also has the information on accessing. But again, next week, that information should also be coming home in paper form from students with their progress reports. We're going to be, this will be pushed out on social media. Right now, we only have about a quarter of our families that access that portal site. So we want to see those numbers increase significantly in the weeks to come.
Yeah, Dr. Changus, what I'm seeing in the chat is that a lot of us are struggling to get the activation code. And so you're saying that the only way to really do that is because they have to verify that our child is a student there before we can get the code, because people were asking, can you send a list of families? Can we get the codes at our schools? And then someone else had said that you can reach out to familyinfo@mmps.org to get that information as well. Is that another avenue?
Yeah, I know that the Family Information Center can assist in that process and can probably speed things along, but they still will need to communicate through the school, I think, as well. That being said, I know that Dr. Battle is encouraging our schools to really respond to families and to make that happen in timely fashion. But as you can understand, security of student information is critical, so that there is a process that has to be verified. We can't just make this too easily available to anyone, but hopefully we can expedite that process. And I'll follow up with our Family Information Center. But I know that communication is going out to principals tomorrow regarding a letter to family that's going to go home to families next week. And so we're trying to do everything we can to get information out as many different ways as we can. So we'll try to improve that process.
Appreciate that. And looking forward to getting that information as well. Somebody wants to know, what's the difference between this portal and Schoology?
Well, yeah, and there, like we moved last year a lot of information into Schoology just because of the virtual learning process, and that was our platform. But this is a portal in our Student Information Center. Student Information System, where all of our data lives. There are data available in this portal that aren't available through Schoology. We push test scores, for instance, into this site, and that won't be available through Schoology. This is kind of the lifeblood of our data systems, this Student Information System campus. There's good information available through the Schoology site in terms of keeping up with assignments as well, and that's where students are actively engaged. But we have a wealth of information that's going to be available here and nowhere else. That being said, as we move forward into future phases of development, it's very possible that we'll have a common landing page where any portal or any app that families might access, including Schoology, including where to go for school options and so forth, will all be available in one page. The goal in working with our information technology department is to minimize the number of passwords and accounts that families have to keep up with. And that's something we're working toward in the future.
Wonderful. Is there a role that MMPS plays to support the learning gaps with this data versus parents just having to go in and try and figure out what those gaps are? Are you utilizing the data for that purpose?
So absolutely, the data that we're sharing with families is key information that's shared with teachers, with instructional coaches, with school leaders. We have aligned what's in this dashboard to our focused outcomes that we monitor at the district level, at the school level. To us, this is the most crucial information we have on the achievement of our students. But we need to work jointly in terms of addressing any potential gaps. That's why I think this information is going to be very helpful when we have those conversations with your child's teacher. We should all be looking at the same data. I will say too that the page that was put on the website today that has the information about the dashboard, it also has links to a couple of videos that we've produced in the past week that help helps walk you through accessing the dashboard, but also interpreting, going through the assessments that are there. We're going to do similar videos with our teachers and make sure that we're all familiar with the same formats, but also how to, what types of conversations in a parent-teacher conference how might those occur using this dashboard.
So that'll be a great resource. So somebody has asked, how long after testing is the dashboard updated? Apparently they've looked at their dashboard and it's missing the August data.
Yeah, the map data from August, the window just closed on Friday. So we are in the process of pushing that data into, there's a little bit of cleanup that has to occur to make sure we have accurate ID numbers on students in some cases, but usually within a week, it will be available in our system. So we should have data from the most recent map testing as early as next week.
So we only have time for one more question, and there were a lot of questions that were unanswered. So Dr. Changus, the PAC will definitely be coming back to you and your team so that we can get the rest of these questions answered. But just one, apparently there have been a lot of challenges. People have been putting in issues that they're having, not being able to find data and needing support. How can parents go about getting help? I know you've talked about videos, you've talked about the website. What if we're at the point where we still can't get anywhere from there? What would you suggest that we as parents do to get support to get on the portal?
So they're going if it's a question about access, I mean, we'll have to separate questions about access from those about interpreting the data. We're going to continue to put more interpretive information linked to our reports to help in terms of understanding what's there. But if it's a technology issue that's occurring, I meet 2 times a month or more frequently if necessary with a team from our information technology department to work on the technical side of this. I'll be happy to go through the types of issues and questions that are occurring if people can share more details. I have a meeting, in fact, tomorrow afternoon with that team, and we'll try to do some questions and answers that's specific to the types of issues that are occurring. We'll also look at potentially providing some additional support, either through the Family Information Center as a contact, or I'll talk to our IT department if it's a technology piece. But clearly, we're trying to make this process as simple as possible in terms of getting onto the site. So maybe we can address some of that when we start these focus groups here in the next couple of weeks. I'll try to. I know I'm gonna have some technology people there as well, and maybe we can, as we hear the issues that are occurring firsthand, we can hopefully have some people on site that can help us start diagnosing and get that information out to other families.
Great, thank you. We appreciate your time tonight. We did put a link to a form in the chat. If you are interested in supporting with feedback to Dr. Changus and his team, please fill out that form and we'll get that information to them. So it's a volunteer process if you're interested in being part of that.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity to talk to the council tonight, and I look forward to having more conversations and getting that input as we go forward.
Thank you. All right, next slide. We have about 15 minutes left in our meeting this evening. So this is the focus group is in, or the form is in the group or in the chat. We've already done our questions. Next. Okay.
So thank you so much, Dr. Changus, and thank you, Dawn, for fielding the questions. If you did not get your question answered, please feel free to reach out to us via email at mnpspac@gmail.com. We are also recording this event, and so we will also go back and look at those questions and connect with our district to make sure that we're getting those answers and get that information out to you as soon as possible. So we apologize if we were not able to address your question right now, but we will get back to you, and we do see the questions that are coming in. Next, since we want to make sure that we are maximizing time, so I do want to take a moment to talk to you a little bit about the structure of the PAC and some of our goals. The goal of the Parent Advisory Council is really to serve as a connector for families and the district to enhance a two-way communication and really partner in the work of supporting our children to be successful in school and beyond. Now, in order to do this and in order for it to work well and to ensure that every student is known, ongoing communication, that two-way communication, allows us all to be intentional in how we inform, adjust, and support one another for the success of every student across our district. Next slide. So here is an example, or here is our organizational chart. And as you can see in the boxes in the yellow, we truly look to, the graphic really shows you how we want to be as an organization. As you see what's highlighted in yellow, we really want to create a true partnership that really leverages and uplifts the voices of families within the district and across our city. So one of the things that you've noticed, if you look at the first yellow box to the left, you have your PAC officers, which are your chair, vice chair, and co-secretaries. From that, we break down into cluster groups across our district. And what a cluster represents is any of those elementary, middle, and middle schools that feeder into your local high school. So for instance, I am in the McGavock cluster. So any elementary and middle school that feeds into the McGavock High School would be considered the McGavock cluster. And so we have cluster coordinators that will oversee meetings at the cluster level to discuss concerns or talk about the great things that are happening within your cluster at the cluster level. From there, in the cluster level, each school is represented. So we want to make sure that at least 2 parents are represented from every single school, from the elementary, middle school, and high school across your district. For high school, we actually invite more parents to participate because our high schools are a lot bigger. So for instance, in our particular cluster, the McGavock cluster, we have 5 parents that are participating from McGavock High School from each of the academies to serve on the McGavock cluster PAC. And so what we want to make sure is that we are engaging parents at every tier, from the school level to the cluster level and across our district. We really want to hear concerns that are particular for your particular area, but themes that are trending across our district so that we can partner with the district and the city to make sure that we're elevating parent voice and we're addressing the concerns that we need to address, as well as creating that two-way communication. So as we're getting that information, we're taking it to the district and doing that level of advocacy, and then we're bringing it back. So we not only want to highlight the areas that we need support, but we also want to celebrate the great things that are happening across our district as well, so that we can get a perspective. We also, with the PAC, we want to make sure that we are alleviating some of the gaps that we see exist. So we are, by creating those PAC clusters, it also gives opportunities for parents in elementary, middle, and high school to communicate with one another so we can see what's going on at different tiers within our same cluster. So it helps to also increase communication as students are going across that pipeline from elementary, middle to high school. Next slide, please. So we often get the question is, what is the difference between the PTO and the PAC? So the PTO really works at the local level, at your school level, and really partners with teachers and the school administration to handle concerns right within your school. A lot of times the PTO is responsible for fundraising and extra support that feeds into our schools. Where the PAC is a broader consensus. The PAC really focuses, the PAC really is an opportunity to come alongside the administration to creatively solve problems, increase two-way communication between our district and parents, jointly develop creative solutions to the most pressing needs, and to have healthy conversations about how we're doing curriculum and school and district initiatives across our district. We really want to make sure that we are creating that partnership and that sounding board to ensure that we are doing what's best for our children who are most affected by the work that we're doing. We want to make sure that they have access to high quality education, which they not only need, but they deserve. And so in creating this partnership, our goal is to really be responsive and to really help shift the needle in a way that truly supports everyone involved and give that partnership that we need across our district. Next slide, please. So we have a call to action. We are really looking for, we still have school that need to be represented, and we're looking for school PAC representatives as well as cluster coordinators. There will be a link in the chat. If you are interested in representing your school, please fill out the link that will be placed in the chat. If you are interested in being a cluster coordinator, please put your complete the form in the chat and let us know. Next slide, please. So we do have some openings. Next slide, please. Nope, before that, go back one, please. Go forward one, please. Awesome. So these are a list of cluster coordinators that we are looking for immediately. In the Antioch cluster, we are looking for a PAC coordinator. In the Cane Ridge cluster, Glencliff cluster, as well as Hillwood, Hunters Lane, Maplewood, Stratford, and the Whites Creek cluster. If you are interested or want to know more information about the cluster coordinator or being a cluster leader, or even information about the PAC, please email us at the email provided below, which is the mnpspac@gmail.com. Please make sure when you send that email that you also include a phone number, as well as the area, whether it's your cluster or your child's school, so that we know where you are. If you please, someone mentioned Chandra in the group, make sure you take a shot so that you know, take a quick picture so that you know which cluster is open, and we would love to get your feedback. So please make sure that you are filling out the form. Dawn has placed a link in the chat.
And Berthina, we will share out a lot of this information in our follow-up to this, but we need to close out in 4 minutes. So we will stay on with people afterwards if they have additional questions, but I'll let you get to your next slide because we'll share out this cluster coordinator information.
We've been building relationships with Nashville community partners. I've been working really hard here trying to get the community partners involved with us. Here are some listed. If you know of any community partners that think they can work well with the PAC, or you think they're interested, you have our email. Please send our information to them or send their information to us, and I will personally get in contact with them. Next slide for Kevin, please.
All right, also upcoming PAC activities, just very quickly. We're inviting you to view the movie By Design. It's a documentary about the history of public education in Nashville. There is a viewing on Saturday, September 11th, others in October, and future dates to come. Y'all, please join us for that. It'll be a fascinating discussion about the history of public education in Nashville, how we are in the situation we're in today with public education, and how we move forward to improve equity and equality for all of our students. I've mentioned one of the best parts about having a specific liaison with the school board is that we'll be hosting these PAC town hall meetings on the dates you see on your screen. These are town hall meetings that are specific times and opportunities for us to meet with the school board around various issues related to topics that we all care about in our education for our kids. So we got, in September, we're talking diversity, equity, and inclusion. In October, we're discussing building facilities and capital improvement plans. November, we're talking health, fitness, and nutrition. What we're going to be doing is asking for you all to send questions to us about those topics, and then we will make sure that those questions are sent to Metro and MNPS, and we'll have the opportunity to connect with and hear from MNPS directors, the board themselves, to have a real conversation between parents and the school board. So I hope you're able to join us for those. Cluster PAC meetings are occurring as they're able. The same thing with district ones. You will get that soon. As you can see in the chat, there are so many topics and so many issues for us to cover. We just weren't able to get to all of that tonight. We encourage you to come back, to be involved, to connect with your local clusters, and help us be a voice for parents in our districts. And I think that's it. So
next slide, please. One more.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. If you want to connect with us, this is our email address, mnpspac@gmail.com. You can see our website there, mnpspac.weebly.com. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. All these ways are ways you can find out about upcoming information and events and activities. Please join us and please connect with us there.
Final slide, please. Next slide. All right, I want to just thank you for your time today. Dawn is going to post a link to the feedback. We would like to hear from you. We want to know how this meeting went for you. That way we can better organize our future meetings. It's 6:15, so please hang out with us if you have some more questions for the PAC officers. We're going to be online with you. If you have to go, makes sense, go have dinner. Have a great rest of the evening. Thank you for your time today. Okay. So meeting adjourned.